Hey, how are you? Sean Childs, U.S. Bank Home Mortgage. I just want to touch base with you and actually point out to you why who you partner with matters. So when we're writing loans and people say, oh my God, you're just a mortgage lender and you're just writing loans, that's really not the case. Really what my job is to help my partners like you, my realtor partners, actually figure out how to keep deals together, how to put deals together from the beginning and then keep them together all the way through the process. And as we start to go into a changing market, it's going to be more important to actually partner with the right people. I'm going to show you a scenario that happened to us recently. So I have an actual customer that actually purchased a home for $625. All right. What's interesting about this deal though is that when the customer first called me, he said, "Hey, Sean, I'm really thinking about buying a home, but I'm going to wait." And I said, "Well, what are you going to wait for?" He said, "Well, interest rates are on the rise. Me and my wife really want to buy an investment property for our family as our family is growing. I want in the next 10 or 12 years to be able to work less and earn more. And you actually have convinced us that the way to do that is to invest in real estate. Except that, with interest rates rising, we're really concerned. We want to wait for the properties to come down in value." So they're waiting for the market to go down, the prices of the homes to go down, okay? But yet interest rates are going up. And I said, I said to such a customer on the phone, I said, listen, let me ask you a question. I said, when you're buying an investment, if we replace the word stock with the word house, and I said to you, how much do you invest in that property? How much does it cost you for the investment? And how much is your return on investment? You really don't care what the interest rate is. So what I'm pointing out is depending on how much I invest and how much I get a return on my investment and minus my cost to carry, as long as that investment is still a positive number and within the realm of what I'm looking at as a good return on my investment, then it makes sense. Doesn't matter what the interest rate is. So depending on, so that was number one. So we kind of addressed that issue that, hey, you know what? We really don't want to wait for the market to change. What we want to do is try to find an opportunity, and if there is one, let's jump on that opportunity. The number two is finding a good partner to help them find a house, because at this point in the game, after 25 years of being on the sales side, I stopped selling real estate, retired from it to actually go into helping people do mortgages and financing homes. So now what I had to do is find somebody that I trusted, one of my partners, which happens to be a gentleman named Michael, who I trained, and said, hey, Michael has a great knack at finding homes, and he's also experienced in working with investors and helping you to figure out how to invest in a property, what to look for, what are the numbers you want to look for, what type of property you want to look for, and where's the location for that property. So Michael actually took them out, found them a house, found them a 3-family house. Okay, that house was listed at $549, and at the time was only getting, I think if I'm not mistaken, about $30,000 in rent. And Michael said, hey, Sean, right now there's an owner living in one unit. The other units are dramatically less than what they should be valued at. We feel as though it's probably $1,800 to $2,000 a month is the realistic rent. So we used a number of $1,800 to look at the numbers, and then we worked backwards and we looked at some of the other properties in the area. And while working with them, they figured out that, hey, you know what? We're actually willing to pay $625,000 for that house. And right now, most of you guys understand that it's a competitive market, so people are overpaying for properties that are listed. So what is the listed price? Sean, why on God's green earth will we pay more over the listed price? The listed price is nothing more than an advertising tool to get people to the door. I'm going to say that again. The listed price of a home is nothing more than a marketing tool to get people to the door. It doesn't indicate value. What you need to do is work with professionals like yourself and like me as a mortgage professional, and like you as a real estate person, to come up with the right number for the consumer, that what they're going to pay. So based on what we saw, we assumed that if we could get this number closer to $40,000 to $50,000 as a return on investment every year, then the numbers made sense, and they almost made sense even to pay up to $625,000 with 25% down. Okay, so that's what it looked like. When they negotiated the deal, they said, hey, if this property doesn't appraise for this number, we want the ability to negotiate it down. So during the whole process, they've been waiting for the appraisal for that property to come back. Ironically enough, not only did the appraisal come back, but the home inspection came back. The home inspection said, hey, there's anywhere between $15,000 and $25,000 in repairs that have to be done to this house in order to make it habitable and to make it rentable. The other thing is that they want it delivered vacant. So why did they want it delivered vacant? That way they can actually get the people that are paying the low rents out and re-rent it for the higher rents. So once at the first blush, they also got the appraisal back. The appraisal came back for this full $625,000. And at first the buyer was like, you know what, I think I'm out. I don't want to overpay for a house. And then all of a sudden I have $30,000 or $40,000 all this repair costs. And I said, oh, wait a minute. Let's take a look at the whole picture before we go crazy. So the first thing we did is we looked at this repairs and we said, okay, what are deal breakers, right? And we figured out that there was two big deal breakers. There was one was a roof and the other one was electrical panels. And we figured out that those two have a cost of about $10,000 to $15,000, maybe $12,000 is realistic, right? What we also found out was the rents that we anticipated to be $40,000 to $50,000. When they do an appraisal on a property that's vacant and it's a 3-family or more, the appraiser has to go look at comparable rates in the area to find out what the rents are for a property like that. Well, it turns out this property actually had an estimated rents of $2,250 to $2,300 on average, and we have 3 of those properties. Okay, 3 of those units. So we did the math just on the 225. That ends up being $6,700. Okay, we times that number times 12. Get out my trusty calculator. 6,750 times 12. That ends up being $81,000. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I just do simple investor math and I said 10 times the rent times 10, that puts that property at $810,000. That gives me an estimated value of $800,000. Remember we said we're only paying $625,000 for this house. What's interesting is I'm going to say to you that that number seems a little bit tight for me, a little bit more than. But let's just say even if we're half right, that building is worth about $750,000. I would say between $700,000 and $750,000 is what the estimated value of that building is. The buyer's in contract for $625,000. So all of a sudden, the buyer said, you know what? Even if I had to eat the cost of the repairs, if I got something out of the seller, I'd be doing good. So in this case, where we had a transaction that when they first looked at it, they weren't even sure if they wanted to get involved in investing in real estate. We then explained to them that, hey, it's not the actual cost, it's not the actual price of interest on a loan. It's the big picture, it's the whole thing mixed together. And you need to have professionals to help you to guide you through it. The next piece was that once they were in contract, all of a sudden the buyer's like, well, wait a minute, now we're going to get beat up again. What they didn't realize was that when the appraiser went in and looked at it, he figured out that that house is really worth $750,000, $800,000 when it's actually fully rented, and it's rented at market rate. So right now, in my professional opinion, the buyer is going to make the $10,000 or $15,000 in the first year just in rent to make the repairs, over and above what they estimated for. So in this case, it's really, really important on who you partner with, especially as we go into a changing market. You're going to need somebody that can help you to understand and help explain it to the buyer, because if you as the agent or you as their point of contact is constantly trying to explain it, eventually what's going to happen, it's like parents talking to their children. Eventually the kids tune you out. And when you're screaming at your kid all the time, they tune you out. When sometimes they have to hear it from somebody else in order for you to make that deal happen or keep it together. I'm the person that's going to help you do that. Give me a call. My name is Sean Schaus. I want to be your mortgage partner over at US Bank Home Loans. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the other side. Hopefully this helps you. Give me a call if you got any questions. Talk to you soon.